predecessor, Donald Trump, defeated his would-be successor, Vice President Kamala Harris. And in fact, there is the president. Let's listen in.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to see you all. Particularly good to see my granddaughter sitting in the front row here. Hi, Finn. How are you, honey? For over 200 years, America has carried on the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty, because it takes time to get it done. And so much more it's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting. but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down, but the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President Joe Biden, about a 6-minute address there in the Rose Garden, his first public comments since the re-election of Donald Trump to a second term in the White House. 74 days left in the Biden administration. He said he will fulfill his oath and honor the Constitution, promising a peaceful transfer of power. And as we go to Nancy Cordes, who's at the White House and has been watching along with us, a note of poetry there as well to Democrats and to voters for the would have been the Harris administration. America is the America of your dreams is calling on you to get back up. That line stuck out to me. Nancy, what stood out to you?
Well, the president tried to frame this as a temporary setback, Tony. He said that the arc of history is long. He argued that, this is an ongoing struggle for the heart of the American people. But I have to tell you, there are a lot of Democrats who view this as much more than a setback. Republicans are coming in to take control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. We're still waiting for final confirmation of the House, but that's the way it looks right now. And there is a lot of soul searching going on among Democrats right now about what exactly led to this loss and how they put the party back together now. And a lot of that frustration, Tony, is pointed squarely at the president. Questions about why he chose to run for re-election, why he chose to drop out so close to Election Day, giving his vice president, who was not here in the Rose Garden today, just a few months to go from a standing start to running a massive nationwide campaign to try to familiarize the American people with her and try to differentiate herself in that short time from the man that she had been standing behind for the previous 4 years.
Nancy, thank you very much. Also with us here is Ed O'Keefe, who was watching the speech as well. He complimented Kamala Harris. He complimented her character, said she ran a campaign with her whole heart and with full effort. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way Democrats would have liked. What stood out to you?
That he also encouraged Democrats to essentially take a few days but get back out there as quickly as possible. Harris yesterday in her remarks at Howard University signaling that she wants to be a more active member of that ongoing fight. Biden, of course, has signaled he's done with public life after these next 73 days, but encouraging his party and reminding them that, in essence, the sun will come out tomorrow, or there will be other elections in 2 to 4 years, and Democrats have to reengage. And look, often a party that loses, in a situation like this, does see gains in that midterm year, or could conceivably take back power in 4 years. The problem is there was going to have to be a really robust conversation among Democrats about how exactly to do that if you're seeing shifts away from the traditional coalition that has elected Democratic presidents in recent years. So we'll see. But the finger pointing is well underway. We saw members of the president's team pointing fingers back at members of President Obama's team who were part of the push to get him out in the press just this morning, saying that if those veterans of the Obama era hadn't engaged in the public fighting that led to his ouster and then joined the Harris team to basically rebuild the Obama coalition, when the Obama coalition isn't what was needed right now, maybe things would have gone differently. The Harris team turns around and says, we only had 107 days to do this, which is a signal that maybe if he'd gotten out sooner, we would have been able to put something together that would have more effectively won. And the Harris team also points out, and this bears repeating, while Trump won those 7 battleground states and saw a rightward shift overall, the country is still effectively 50-50, narrowly divided. And so there is hope, if you're one of those Democrats of despair, that your team could conceivably put something together in a few years that wins, and that's what the president was signaling.
You know, and every president has to think about legacy. Joe Biden's no different. You saw the beginning of him sort of working the public perception of his administration by pointing out that some of the things that they passed, he said to his supporters, don't forget all we've done. Some of the infrastructure bills, the public spending, that money is just beginning to kick in. So what he's basically saying there is, in 90 days and 74 days, you know, we're going to have a new administration. They're going to take credit for many of the things that I've done, that we have done.
Or put another way, what's that song, You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone?
Yeah.
I mean, that could be it too. And notable that he mentions the infrastructure spending specifically, because it's that money that Republicans did not help authorize that they're now taking credit for at ribbon cuttings across the country, something the White House likes to point out, that he's probably surest will not be touched. Other elements of his legacy certainly could be rolled back by a Republican Congress in the coming months, but that one is likely to stick. And you're seeing it. Highways, airports, schools, bridges, that construction will continue.
Yeah. Ed, thank you very much. Caitlin Huey-Burns is covering President-elect Trump and his transition team. She's in West Palm Beach. She was with me just yesterday there. Caitlin, this is the first public address, first remarks from Joe Biden about Donald Trump's victory, but we know that they did speak by phone, and there's been a promise of a smooth transition behind the scenes and also a White House visit. What do we know about that?
That's right, Tony. The Trump team has said that Biden called him yesterday, and they talked about making a smooth transition of power. And the Biden administration offered an invitation to the now president-elect Donald Trump to come to the White House and meet with the president. And the Trump team says they are gladly going to take him up on that offer, and they hope to meet soon. We don't know exactly when that will be, but that conversation has taken place. Meanwhile, here in West Palm Beach, the transition is well underway. People on his transition team are fast at work, and the former president, now president-elect, is taking lots and lots of calls from his resort on Mar-a-Lago, including from foreign leaders. He had conversations yesterday with Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and also, notably, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. So that is happening here. But notably, Tony, as we're hearing from the president and thinking about what a President Trump administration would look like, remember, this is a former president who pledged to unravel as much as he could of the accomplishments, perceived accomplishments of the Biden administration, particularly on immigration. So look for perhaps many executive orders on day one as this team gets ready to build out a government. That is what we are looking for in the next few days here. Decisions about who Trump will pick for his cabinet and to start unraveling Biden policies that they hope to start 75 days from now.
Caitlin, thank you very much. Something else, Ed, that will start 75 days from now and really has already begun is when you have a transition of power, you immediately have resistance to that new power. That will come in many forms. Democratic governors is one of them. What is your reporting on that?
We've seen this already now in the last 48 hours or so. Even here in New York, for example, the governor and attorney general making clear to residents of the state that they will work to ensure that their rights and protections are solidified, at least by state law. We know of other blue state or Democratic governors, especially in the Midwest and the Southwest, who are banding together to look at various policy that may need to be either fortified or clarified or done in a way to resist whatever changes could be coming when it comes to health and vaccine requirements, when it comes to women's reproductive health, when it comes to environmental regulations. Given recent Supreme Court changes, how certain industries are regulated and will be able to be regulated into the future. So what's telling is that a lot of these governors anticipated this earlier this year, realizing at the time when President Biden was still running that Trump very well could win. And so they had already started preliminary discussions, and it's all rooted in their experiences during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When you'll remember, a lot of Democratic-led, even Republican-led states weren't, in their view, getting sufficient federal support and had to sort of band together to do their purchasing for medical supplies and other protections at the same time, the masking policies. So you're once again going to potentially see a more active push to patchwork certain elements of society, at least the policy behind them, if the Trump administration takes steps that run counter to the belief of those states.
Yeah, it was classic Joe Biden in many ways as we begin to weigh and measure the legacy. He quoted his mother, quoted his late father, quoted himself. You can't love your country only when you win. Sought to shore up confidence in the election system as well. And a note of poetry. I'll end the way we began. The America of your dreams, he said to his supporters, is calling you to get back up.
Yep.
It's a beautiful line. Ed, thank you very much. Thanks to all our correspondents in the field. This has been a CBS News special report here in New York. You are going to rejoin other programming already in process. I'm Tony DeCopel. Thank you for watching.
Prevail.
And you just were watching a CBS News special report. President Joe Biden addressing the nation from the Rose Garden there. At the White House, the president calling for a peaceful and orderly transition of power from the Biden to the future Trump administration. He said, quote, "You can't love your country only when you win." He also commended the Harris campaign on the job they did on her presidential campaign. And he hopes that this election puts the questions of election integrity to rest. We'll have much more on his address coming up later on CBS News 24/7. Meanwhile, some of President-elect Donald Trump's mounting legal battles may be soon coming to an end. Special counsel Jack Smith looking to wind down the ongoing federal prosecutions against the president-elect. The move prompted by a long-standing policy that forbids prosecuting a sitting president. Now, Jack Smith is currently overseeing 2 cases against Trump, the first for conspiring to overturn the